I was sipping coffee on the porch of my mountain cabin in Pine Hollow, Tennessee, watching the morning fog curl off the valley below like a slow, ghostly dance. The cabin, built by my grandfather in '79, sits on a half-acre of rugged land, shielded by towering pines that keep the world at bay. At 40, juggling a high-stakes job as a financial planner in Nashville, I need this place, its creaky boards, its weathered oak sign etched with the county's pre-existing non-conforming use permit like I need air. It's my sanctuary, inherited 3 years ago after my grandfather passed. That morning in April 2024, the air was crisp, the kind that sharpens your thoughts. I was sitting across from my friend Lena, who'd come up for the weekend, when the peace shattered with a knock so aggressive it sounded like someone was trying to break the door down. Before I could even stand, I caught a glimpse through the window of a woman in her late 50s, pacing my property like she owned it. Her sleek blazer and perfectly styled hair screamed suburban power trip, and her heels clicked on my deck with the authority of someone who thrives on control. She didn't bother with introductions. Margaret Klein, president of the Pine Hollow Homeowners Association, launched into a tirade about my cabin's violations of community standards. The way she said it, you'd think I was running an illegal operation instead of just trying to enjoy my coffee. I bit back a laugh when she demanded I repaint the cabin to match some HOA color palette. Did she not see the sign by the door, carved in oak, spelling out the cabin's protected status? Built before their HOA even existed, this place is grandfathered under Tennessee property law, untouchable by their rules. I pointed to the sign, explaining calmly, like I was talking to a client who didn't understand market volatility. Ma'am, this cabin's been here since before your HOA. It's legally exempt. She stared at it like I'd handed her a puzzle in another language, then waved a thick folder at me, claiming the HOA had universal authority over all valley properties. Universal authority? I almost choked. Was she running a homeowners association or a shadow government? Margaret wasn't fazed by facts. She rattled on about how my cabin's negative visual impact was tanking property values, threatening immediate enforcement if I didn't comply within 72 hours. I stood there, half amused, half annoyed, as she ignored my explanation and started asking weirdly specific questions about my schedule. Do you live here full-time, Mr. Carter? Or is this just a weekend getaway for you and your family? Her tone shifted, less bureaucratic, more like she was fishing for something. Lena, sitting quietly across the table, stiffened, her eyes tracking Margaret with a sharpness I didn't catch at the time. The questions fell off, like she was building a dossier, not enforcing paint codes. Then, right in front of me, Margaret made a call, loud enough for me to hear every word. Elliot, this place is protected somehow. He knows about the grandfathered status. We'll need another way to deal with this. She shot me a look, like she wanted me to know she was plotting something. After handing me her business card and promising escalated action, she stormed off to her gleaming SUV, leaving me on the porch, wondering what the hell just happened. 3 days later, an official-looking envelope was wedged in my door like a legal landmine. The return address screamed Pine Hollow HOA, with Margaret's name in bold, as if it carried the weight of a court order. Inside was a violation notice demanding $3,500 for multiple infractions, threatening neighborhood volume-permitted deck, non-compliant paint, unauthorized landscaping, and some nonsense about my dock. No cure period, no hearing, just a demand for immediate payment or else. The photos attached as evidence were laughably wrong. One showed a blooming apple tree in what was supposed to be a winter shot, shadows all off. Another claimed my deck built by my grandfather in '84 with full permits was unapproved. My wildflower garden, planted to stop erosion, was suddenly a $900 violation. It was like they'd invented a parallel reality where my cabin was a blight. I spent an hour pacing my property, comparing their photos to the real thing, realizing someone had doctored them to fabricate violations. I drove to the county clerk's office in nearby Clarksville, where records confirmed what I already knew. My cabin was untouchable, fully permitted, and protected since '79. The HOA, formed in 2010, had no jurisdiction. Armed with this, I called Margaret. Instead of backing down, she doubled down. Mr. Carter, county records don't override our community standards. We can enforce aesthetics regardless of your cabin's age. It was so absurd I couldn't speak. She even asked about my kids, whether they visited, often questions that had nothing to do with paint or docks. When I pushed back, she got icy. "We'll be monitoring your property closely, Mr. Carter. Noncompliance has consequences." The threat hung in the air, and that night, I spotted a dark sedan parked down the road, someone inside snapping photos with a telephoto lens. I stood on my porch, staring them down, and they lingered before creeping away. This wasn't about aesthetics anymore. It felt like I was being hunted. Then came the manila envelope, slipped under my door with no return address. Inside were emails, financial records, and blueprints exposing a bombshell. Margaret and a developer named Elliot Vance were running a scheme to seize lakefront properties for a luxury resort. My cabin, with its prime location, was their crown jewel, slated to become an executive lodge with a private marina. HOA funds $92,000 had been funneled to shell companies for fake consultations. Emails showed Margaret coordinating with other HOAs across 2 counties, targeting owners with relentless fines and harassment until they sold. Lena, who'd left her jacket behind that morning, had slipped me this evidence. Her letter warned that other owners had already buckled under legal pressure, unable to afford the fight. My refusal was gumming up their timeline, tied to a deal with a major hotel chain. I invited neighbors to my cabin, and the living room filled with stories of forged invoices, fake violations, and creepy surveillance. Mrs. Larson, an elderly widow, showed us a $450 charge for lake access maintenance. That never happened. Mr. Torres, whose dock predated the HOA, faced $2,200 in fines for trespassing on his own shoreline. Sarah, a nurse, described a safety surveyor quizzing her about her work hours and home security. We realized we were up against a machine, one with resources far beyond a typical HOA. Lena connected me with a contact, Claire Morgan, who she said knew property law and HOA fraud inside out. We met at my cabin, the table covered with evidence like a war room. Claire, sharp and composed, reviewed every emails, recordings, doctored photos with the precision of someone who'd seen worse. Her questions about RICO statutes and multi-county coordination hinted at a background in serious investigations. As she spoke, tires crunched outside. Multiple vehicles. My heart raced. This wasn't a social call. Margaret didn't knock. She burst in with 2 board members, announcing an emergency compliance inspection. She photographed my cabin's interior, claiming willful defiance gave her supreme authority to seize my property. It was theft dressed up as bureaucracy, and she was admitting it on record. Then came Paul Decker, introduced as the HOA's legal counsel, wielding a briefcase full of fake documents demanding I surrender my grandfathered rights for community harmony. He knew things about my schedule and finances he shouldn't, hinting at illegal surveillance. I played dumb, stalling, while one board member, unbeknownst to Margaret, was live-streaming the whole thing. Hundreds watched as she ranted about overriding constitutional protections, oblivious to the legal hole she was digging. Claire stayed calm, then stood, pulling out her ID. "I'm Claire Morgan, Tennessee Attorney General. We've been investigating HOA fraud across 3 counties for 9 months. You've just confessed to conspiracy, fraud, and civil rights violations." Margaret's face drained of color. Decker dropped his papers, backing toward the door. The live stream exploded with comments, legal experts chiming in about the felonies unfolding. Deputies moved in outside, and within hours, Margaret, Decker, and Vance were in custody. Federal agents raided Vance's office, catching him shredding resort plans. Charges piled up: fraud, embezzlement, RICO violations, and bribery for Vance. Impersonation and conspiracy for Decker, racketeering and civil rights violations for Margaret. The HOA scams stretched across the Southeast, fleecing millions from homeowners. My cabin was saved, cemented by a federal court order as a landmark case for property rights. The HOA was gutted, replaced by honest leadership. Fines were voided, victims compensated from seized assets. Pine Hollow healed, hosting a festival to celebrate our victory. I nailed a new plaque to my cabin sign: historic property, protected by federal law. The mist still rises off the valley, and my coffee tastes sweeter now, knowing we stopped a machine that preyed on the vulnerable. Margaret thought she could bully her way to a resort empire. Instead, she handed us the evidence to bury her. What would you have done? Face down a corrupt HOA or sold out to save the headache? Is it worth fighting when the deck's stacked, or do you trust the system to deliver justice? Have you ever faced a bully who thought they were untouchable, only to watch them crumble? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this story fired you up, and subscribe for more tales of standing your ground.